Hey folks, this is actually Lenny Lawson, the car guru. I have been absent for the last couple of days for the local radio audience. For the podcasters, you probably haven't noticed any difference. But I am back. I had a sudden attack of laryngitis. No other symptoms other than I couldn't speak very well. Extremely low voice. It was awful. But I'm cured miraculously. I think it was the pollen in the air here in East Tennessee. And that happens, but it usually doesn't happen to me. So we had our big Cars and Coffee event. I called it Second Saturday, Cars and Coffee. And I thought that would be pretty self-descriptive of when the Cars and Coffee event was going to be. The second Saturday of every month. But I still had people calling and say, when's the car thing? And I said, second Saturday. It's called the Second Saturday Cars and Coffee. Yeah, but when is it? The 11th of April? When's the next one? Well, I don't know. I have to look it up on my calendar. I have to find out what the second Saturday is in May. You want me to call you back? I guess some people just don't use calendars. I live with a calendar and a planner. Do you? Yeah, for the last 48 years, I had to have a notebook with a list of everything I had to get done every day. And the sad thing was that whatever I wrote down, I got about 70% of it done. And then I had to carry over the other things, which the next day I got 70% of them done. It's just this 30% thing. If it were my wife, she would get 130% done. She'd get 100% done, then she'd be looking for 30% more to fill the rest of her day. When I left this morning, she was, this was pretty early. She's pressure washing the sidewalk. It had, I guess black stuff on it, and she didn't want that on there. So she's doing it. She's like the Energizer Bunny. Sometimes I say, will you just sit down? You're driving me crazy. I'm sitting here trying to watch TV, and you're working. It's almost bedtime. Well, why don't you empty the dishwasher? Okay, I'll empty the dishwasher. So it's a negotiation. Her activity versus my desire for inactivity. So, but we still, 48 years, we're still hanging in there. Okay, so what's on the agenda today? Well, I was looking at the latest automotive news. Everybody's in an uproar about gas prices. Rightfully so, I think. I use that 90-octane pure gas in my lawnmowers and other equipments, like my side-by-side and my four-wheeler and my dirt bike and, other things. Other things with motors. Yeah, because the ethanol, the 10% that's in the gasoline that you probably buy every day, it's not good for, especially when something has to sit for a long time. So I put 90-octane pure gas in my antique cars and in my other equipment that has motors. Gasoline motors, not the diesels. No, the diesel tractor only gets diesel. You know what happens if you put gasoline in a diesel, a vehicle with a diesel engine? It's catastrophic. You're getting ready to buy an engine, or at least a complete fuel system. We had to do that the other day. I think I mentioned it on a previous show. We had a customer traded in a vehicle. We thought it was fine. It was a, less than 1 year old F250 or 350 Super Duty with a 6.7 turbo diesel engine. It's a great engine. Power stroke is what Ford calls it. And so one of my service guys went to pick it up to do a pre-delivery inspection. It made it about 10 feet after he cranked it, then it shut down. The fuel system was corrupted. Somebody put gas in it. Yeah, we drained it out. You know what the warranty coverage is for that? 0. You know what the cost was? $13,000 to fix that. That was my cost to fix it at my dealership. So that was not good. So I guess before the guy traded it, he wasn't concentrating and accidentally put gas in his diesel in. We didn't know it. Somehow he was able to drive it in here. This happens. People, sometimes they'll trade cars knowing that they have a problem, and they won't disclose it. And I guess somehow in this world, that's okay for a consumer to basically commit fraud against a car dealer. Oh, but if a car dealer does that and sells a vehicle to a consumer that they know has a problem, that is the unforgivable sin. Absolutely wrong. That's a jury saying he's a car dealer and he's probably guilty. One of the best things I've found to do is, it's just amazing how well it works, just always tell the truth. And then you don't have to worry about covering for yourself when you can't remember what you did. It happens. We all forget. I forget more now that I'm 69 years old than I did when I was 49. And sometimes I'll use that as an excuse. Well, I just don't remember. I'm old. And my daughters say, "Oh, Dad." And the customers say, "Oh, well, I understand. We're old too." Or, "My daddy's old and he forgets a lot of stuff too." I said, "Well, we're just twin sons of different mothers, I guess." Okay, I'll be back in just 1 minute if I remember. Okay, I remember. I am back. Yes, dealer sentiment is improving right now as the industry enters the spring selling season. I know I feel better that it's warm. Like I said, we just had our Cars and Coffee event, and it was packed. We had over 100 vehicles for our first, second Saturday Cars and Coffee. We'll have another second Saturday Cars and Coffee next month. And if you want to know when it is, you know what to do. But yeah, gas prices are putting hurts on a lot of people. I've had several people come in thinking about trading their vehicles that don't get as good a gas mileage for something that gets better gas mileage. Now, let me ask you a question. Is that a little short-sighted? I mean, they're looking at what I hope and believe is a short-term scenario with high gas prices, and I guess feeling that it's going to be a permanent situation, and it's not going to be. Now, are we going to have fluctuations in fuel prices? Yes, we always do. I think the runs are longer with low fuel prices because it's typically the result of some type of an event. Now, this one's pretty serious out in the Middle East, and I think it's going to be over pretty soon. But it is putting the hurts on a lot of countries and individuals in this country who, they live on a pretty tight budget. They're having a hard time making it at $2 a gallon. And when it shoots up to $4.50 a gallon, it's a problem. But I would just hang in there and not trade for fuel economy reasons, unless even at $2 a gallon, it's a struggle. I mean, I can understand somebody going out there. For example, we have several different hybrid vehicles, and our best seller, as far as hybrids is concerned, is the Ford Maverick. Because, I was looking at the window sticker the other day, it gets 42 miles to the gallon in the city and 38 on the highway. And it gets better gas mileage in the city because it's using battery power more often in the city. Of course, we don't really have city where I live. We have town, and we definitely have stop-and-go traffic, but it's not like living in a major metropolitan area where you're stuck in traffic all the time. In those types of situations, yeah, a hybrid can save you a lot of money, and maybe it does make sense. But you have to look at the total expense. Are you going to pay $25,000 difference and finance that in order to be able to get a few more miles to the gallon? Do the math before you go shopping. Don't just base it on, well, you're just tired of paying high gas prices and filling up your car and so forth, because it's a little bit short-sighted. I'm not trying to be rude here, but you just got to put the numbers to it. Get a piece of paper, calculator, or ask ChatGPT to analyze it for you. I'm using that more and more. I know I'm probably going to have a hand in destroying the world as we know it. But in the meantime, I can get information more quickly and more completely than if I Google it. Of course, Google uses AI too. The first response on Google is always AI. And then you have all the other stuff following behind. But I pay $19.95 a month for my ChatGPT subscription. So give it a shot. Just go to Google or ChatGPT or one of the other AI bots. That's what they call them, BOTS, bots. Don't ask me. And tell it what the scenario is. Now, the quality of the answer that you get is 100% dependent on the quality of the question that you ask. You know, that's true in life in general as well. We won't get into that subject. I'll save that for a later podcast. But if you want to know what an AI thinks about the deal you're trying to get, tell AI what the scenario is. I'm trying to buy a 2026 Nissan Altima. The MSRP is $34,495. I'm just making up numbers. I can get a rebate of $2,500, or I can finance it at 0% for up to 60 months. My trade-in is worth, according to the dealership, $15,000. I owe $17,000 on it. The new Altima gets this many miles per gallon. My old car got this many miles per gallon. In other words, folks, what I'm doing is I'm laying out all the facts and then send it. And you won't believe the detail that you will get back from ChatGPT. And it will tell you its opinion on what you ought to do. And if you have any other questions, you can even ask it, well, what would it cost for the typical extended service contract for this type of vehicle? And would you recommend buying it from the manufacturer of the vehicle or an aftermarket insurance company? It will lay out all the facts for you. I mean, it's almost like having a car guru living in your guest bedroom. But I'm happy where I am, so I'm not going to do that. But you can do the ChatGPT, and it will, I mean, it's just a great resource for now until it gains consciousness and takes over the world. But I don't think I'll live to see that. My grandkids might, or even my kids. It depends on how much power it needs. See, that's the big problem with AI right now, is it consumes a tremendous amount of electricity. And they're trying to figure out, okay, if this thing's going to keep growing, how are we going to generate enough electricity to power this without triggering, all kinds of problems for normal everyday people? Because from what I've seen, there's not enough electricity to go around in places like California. Of course, they want us to drive nothing but electric vehicles. Wait till all of that hits the grid. And there are no internal combustion engines except Lenny's car collection. And, if we have an EMP strike, we're cooked. An EMP is one of those nuclear bombs that explodes in the atmosphere and rains an electronic shower on everything and kills any type of printed circuit. Read the book 1 Second After by William Forchen. I can't remember how you spell his name, but it's like Forchen. Not only will you be looking for a 1959 Galaxy 500 to drive around in case that happens, but you'll be stocking up on freeze-dried food, like 5 years' worth. You see, everything that had a printed circuit wouldn't run anymore. Nothing that had a printed circuit. What has printed circuits? Everything. Everything in our house, everything that makes our house work, the power grid, everything in industry, nursing homes, hospitals. I mean, they don't have to drop a nuclear bomb on us to put us out of business. They just have to unleash an EMP strike. Doesn't kill anybody. Well, it doesn't immediately kill anybody, but it certainly does the job over a period of time. So anyway, don't read that book if you want to sleep or unless you want to spend a bunch of money on freeze-dried food. But on a lighter note, I like to think about things like what motivates people to buy a particular product. I lost a deal this past week. I had a customer that totaled their Lexus, and, well, somebody pulled out in front of them, and they T-boned those poor folks. They survived, but her Lexus didn't. And so she had one of the big Lexus what's the plural of Lexus? Lexuses or Lexi? Anyway, her Lexus was totaled. And so I've done some business with these people, and they're well, I'm not going to disclose too much information because you might figure out who it is. But they came to me, and I was grateful. They wanted to see what Nissan or Ford I had that they might enjoy driving to replace their Lexus. And so I showed them, well, let's see, we looked at the Nissan Murano, which is really nice. Not quite as big or as powerful as the Lexus they were driving because they had the big one. So I said, well, what about the Armada? Well, show us the Armada. And I showed it to them, and they loved it. Drove it down the road, enjoyed it. And then they thought about doing a truck, so I showed them an F-150, and they really liked that as well. And they said, well, we'll let you know. And I've heard that before. So I followed up the next day. It was one of those, oh, you did, calls. Yeah, I called them, and they said, well, we just went ahead and got the Lexus. Oh, you did? Yeah, we did. And let me just tell you, it was just something that she really enjoyed the Lexus, and it made her feel comfortable. And, it's just a little bit more prestigious car. Not that they're looking for prestige or anything, but a little bit more prestige and uniqueness than a Nissan. So I was slightly insulted, but I got over it. But there's just a lot of people like that. I mean, what drives you to purchase a certain vehicle? Is it just price? Is it all about price and economy and, insurance costs, all about money and longevity? You don't care what you're driving. It's just a way to get from point A to point B. There are a lot of people like that. And quality is important. A lot of people, it may be a combination of things, price and quality. A lot of people just want to drive something nobody else has. That's why they go out of town. I've had people say they go out of town and buy a BMW because there's not a BMW dealer around here, and they just want to drive something unique. Or they just like a particular design, or, like I said, prestige. What drives people is sometimes not the most practical thing in the world. And in the long run, it ends up being a bad decision because you fail to consider how your lifestyle matches up with what you're buying. Now, if you want to drive a particular vehicle just simply because the neighbors will take notice, then and if that makes you happy, then go ahead and do it. But if your decision like that is going to negatively impact your family and your car life, then don't do it. Resist that temptation. I mean, I really like this new Bronco that just came in. It's beautiful. It's the color scheme that I like. It's got all the options that I want on it. But, I use my truck so often. I have that bed. I have the bed cover over it. We travel in my truck. It has that wonderful new tailgate that Ford designed, a very simple design that it opens like a door or folds down like a tailgate. I can tow my camper with it. It rides great. The seats are comfortable. So why would I consider a Bronco? There's only one reason. I like the way it looks. Yeah, it handles good, but not any better than my F-150. The gas mileage is about the same. There's not enough room in the back seat for 3 car seats, and I go pick up the kids at school once a week, and all of them are still in booster seats. That's not going to work. So I think about these considerations, and I just have to resist the temptation to do something that just isn't going to fit. It's not going to fit our lifestyle. I know that I'm not going to be happy. Here's the advantage I have, though, over you. I own a car dealership. I buy vehicles every 12 to 18 months. I do that for 2 reasons. One, the IRS is going to charge me as if I'm buying it anyway if I drive a demo, so I just go ahead and buy one because I can keep all my stuff in it. And I don't have to change from one car to another. A salesperson calls me and said, "Hey, Lenny, we need to sell your F-150." And I said, Now I can say, no, it's not for sale. I've got all my stuff in it, and I'm driving it for another year. And then I sell it and get something else. You can't do that. That doesn't work for you, typically, unless you're just really loaded. The average person is going to buy a car. They're going to finance it for 60 to 84 months. And, they can't go out on a whim and buy a Bronco when what they really need is an F-150. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to buy what makes the most sense for me and makes me happy. I'm buying the Bronco. I'll be back in 1 minute. How's that for a curveball? No, I'm not buying the Bronco. I talked myself out of it. But it is a really cool vehicle. It does handle well. It has what they call the Sasquatch package. What's that? Well, that makes it taller, lifts it off the ground about 3 extra inches higher than a regular Bronco. And it has really big tires on it. And yes, that means it'll make a lot of road noise, which I don't want. And I guess I'm too old. I like a soft ride. I like comfort. I don't want to hear tire noise. I don't want to hear wind noise. And bottom line, I really don't care if I look cool. And you shouldn't either, because all it does is cost you money. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru. If you have any questions, let me know. Send me a text, 423-552-2020, or send me an email to LennyLawson2020@gmail.com, and I'll see you next time.